I don't do Coca-Cola, so. What's that? I don't know. I guess that's become a popular thing, so. I do coconut water. I used to drink, not today. It's too late. I've already, you guys just woke up. I've been rolling since 6 o'clock. Especially the guy in the hat with the upside down glasses. I know he just got out of bed, but I don't do Diet Dr. Pepper or Diet Cokes anymore, so.
We'll let Coach do an opening statement.
We haven't played any games yet. I'm still in a good mood. Give me a month. That'll change.
Talk about the start of preseason and then obviously open for questions. So Frank, whenever you're ready.
Obviously, I've been excited about this team since last year. I saw the possibilities because we had a bunch of these guys in practice, even though they didn't play in games last year. So I had a feel for what it can be. We've had I can't remember. It might be the first summer where our roster was intact, where I wasn't running around trying to recruit somebody for a scholarship. Our roster was intact all summer. We had great leadership on our team last year, which I remember calling a timeout. Not calling a timeout. There was a play late in the game last year, and me asking Hassani, like, how's it feel? And he's trying to get me to tell him what play to run. And I said, no, forget the play. How does it feel? And he said, what are you talking about? I said, how does it feel to finally listen and be a good teammate and good things happen for you as a player? And he just started laughing. And he went and called his own play. I didn't tell him what to call, and he called the right thing, and it worked. And it's because of all that growth between him, Chris, and even Trey Campbell as the season went on, all those young kids learned from them, and they've been great this year. So does that mean we're going to win any games? I got no idea, but I know I'm excited when I go to practice every day.
Questions? Dave?
Frank, going on into your 8th season now, have you been as excited about any other team as you are about this one going into it?
Yeah, I'm always excited, Dave. I don't go into seasons concerned with the warts. It goes back to what I'm about. I don't worry about what I don't have. I worry about what I do have. And I don't get more or less excited. I just think that this team has the possibilities of growing. The ceiling for growth is there's a lot of room there before we can even see the ceiling. So the excitement, the enthusiasm for me never changes. It doesn't change. I don't care what the situation. My first year here, I knew we had some limitations as a team, but I was excited to get out there and see growth. My enthusiasm is always for growth. It's not for wins and losses. So I'm revved up and ready to go. And because I didn't have to, and this is the truth about the business, I didn't have to exert countless hours of travel and energy on our roster in the summer. I'm actually well rested right now. And I'm sleeping better. Seriously, I've been battling a real bad shoulder, and it was hard to sleep for the last couple of years, and I'm sleeping better. So I don't know if that's good or bad for our players, but I'm well rested right now.
Frank, I guess what were conversations like with Mike coming out of last year, and what have you seen from him through the first couple weeks on court stuff that makes you feel he'll take another step forward?
Yeah. Mike didn't handle. The last 2 years have been the opposite with Mike. He didn't handle the beginning of his sophomore year great, but I thought he played better as the year went on. And then his junior year, he was playing pretty good early, and then he just went in the tank. And Mike's biggest obstacle is self-confidence. And I never figured that one out his freshman year because he didn't have a lot of responsibility his freshman year. And you don't really find out about people, how they manage stuff, until they have a lot of responsibility. There's a reason why the person who makes copies makes a lot less money than the CEO of the company. There's a reason why the department head makes a lot less money than the principal at a school building. It's how you handle responsibility determines what you're capable of doing, and I didn't understand that with Mike his freshman year because he didn't have a lot of responsibility. I've tried to figure that out the last 2 years, and he's in a much better place. He's actually, I'm not going to say it because I know what I'm going to jinx myself and our team, but he's doing some things on the court that he's never done since he's been here, and that's a good thing. That's a good thing. Mike has been an unbelievable young man to coach. He's been an incredible representative of our program, who he is every day in that practice, in the community, in the classroom. The times you guys have interviewed him, the way he speaks, he deserves to have a real good senior year. And I'm excited to help him so it can be the best that it can possibly be.
Andrew?
Frank, you said obviously this team with the room for growth that could get better as the year goes on. Last year's team got better as the year goes on. Didn't get off to a great start. How do you feel about this team from the get-go with blending in some new faces and how you kind of navigate those first 2 months, the 2 months that ended up kind of biting you the most last year?
Andrew, contrary to the popular belief around here up until a couple of years ago, in my history, my teams always get better. They never get worse. Frank Booker's year, we weren't very good early in the year. We were pretty darn good at the end of the year. The Final Four year, everybody was concerned because we lost a couple games late in the year, but I was happy because we were playing better again. You keep going on down the line. Our teams always play better at the end of the year. It's who we are. You have to, because the good teams that you play against, they get better too. They don't get worse. And you, at the end of the year, whether it's in a conference tournament or it's postseason tournament, whatever, you're not playing bad teams. You're playing good teams. Good teams get better. Last year was one of the funnest years I've had in coaching because of all the adversity that was thrown at that team, the youth on the team, and yet they're what's the word I'm looking for here? Their resilience, their relentless pursuit of improvement, not allowing anything to kind of get in their way. And I'm not going to say I'm defeated, but I'm a human being. When AJ got hurt in that Alabama game, I went home that night and I was like, why? We went from extinction to we win that game. We're in the NCAA tournament conversation. And all of a sudden, boom, and now you're sitting there saying, why? And we went out and played at Missouri on a quick turn against a team that they just had unbelievable depth at guards, and we had two guards, and we had to play a certain way. And even though we lost that game, I realized, our guys got some fight in them. I got to do a better job coming down the stretch the last couple games. And they helped me grow last year. And that was fun to be around. And so I'm excited the way these guys approach things, that they're going to keep fighting to grow and help each other. And that's why the last 2 years I've had an unknown relationship with my team. What do I mean by that? Well, the guys that were returning from the Final Four team, they had small responsibility. I didn't know how they were going to handle more responsibility. And then we had a bunch of first-year guys. Then we obviously went through a transition that year. And we had, when I said new guys, I'm talking about grad transfers, Wes Myers, Frank Booker. So now you get change on your roster. A couple of guys that we brought in didn't stay. You had graduation. And now you get to last year. And last year a couple guys were really old. The majority of the guys were really young. And you go through that challenge and that growth. And this is the first time in a while where I have a roster where I have a pretty good feel for everybody. So that's also, I don't know if that's excitement, but having an understanding of how the guys I'm with are going to manage challenges gives me a sense of peace.
Mike?
All right, thank you, guys. Christ, that
Frank,
was
what have you seen from AJ Lawson that you'll have liked this offseason? Where does he take his game now after 1 year of college basketball?
He's a really good player, and after 2 practices, if you walked in the gym and you'd never seen our team, you would not be able to see who A.J. Lawson is. That's how good the other guys are playing. There's not a huge difference between guys. He's got to shoot it a little better than he has the last 2 weeks. He's worked too hard at it. He's good. He's not getting here's what else is, and this is an adjustment for him in practice, which is only going to help him. Our guards are not driving to the rim and getting shots. There's some balls getting beat up when people go to the rim. We haven't had around here. And we've been a one-man blocking crew with Chris Silva. So in practice, if Chris was not where he can go get a block shot, there's nobody else. We got guards blocking shots. We got bigs like playing over the rim. So that's a good thing for him because AJ's real good perimeter shooting and at the rim. His growth has to be in that area in between. And he's gotten better at that. But when he goes to the rim, it's getting really hard in our practice right now. So, which is a good thing. But he's an awesome kid. He's got to shoot it better than he's shot it the last 2 weeks. We've had 2 practices and 2 one-hour team practices in individuals, and he hasn't made shots the way he's capable of. But he will because he works at it.
Going off the AJ Lawson theme right now, what do you think his experience with Team Canada did over the summer, and how much did that help with his experience?
Yeah, as players, it's always you're looking for growth. Growth comes from confidence. Confidence comes from growth. It's all connected. And his growth, when he played with Team Canada the summer before, 18 and under, I believe was the age group where I was actually recruiting him at the time. He scored for them, but he was not as involved in ball handling decisions on that team. Andrew, was it Nimhart? I can't remember who it was. There's somebody else that was the predominant ball handler, and there's another guy that handled the ball a lot more. Then he comes here last year, and then that became part of his maturation as a player, is being more involved with the decision-making with the basketball, not just a guy that shoots layups and dunks in the open court, becoming a more consistent shooter. He worked at those things. He got better at them. Now he goes back out with Team Canada, and what happens? Because of the work he put in, he gained confidence, and now he had a different demeanor on that team, which allowed him to play efficiently at a high level, through not for a game, but for a whole tournament. And he's making. I was watching. I think they played Australia in the second round of that tournament, and they're up 2, and Australia called timeout, and there was inside a minute to go, and I'm sitting at home watching the game, and they went at him. They didn't, that's when when everyone said, well, they're going at him. They're going at him. During the flow of the game, you're not going at people. You're trying to win games. When the game's on the line, you get the ball to your best player and you go with the best matchup you can get. And he was guarding their best player. I'm sitting there saying, AJ's guarding the best player on the other team. This is interesting. And they went at him and they tried to screen him on 2 different occasions, and he refused to get screened. I said, that's a young man that's gotten better because he's bought into one of the things that we try to sell, which is our defensive mindset. And they won the game because a secondary player ended up taking a bad shot, and the guy they wanted to go make a play couldn't get the ball. And that showed me a lot about AJ on the spot.
Rick?
Frank, with all the talent you have, how quickly do you think it'll take to establish the identity of this team, or do you need to play some games before you can do that? And with your experience, when a team's identity is challenged, a real good team, or when a team's identity is established with a real good team, do they maintain that identity, or does it fluctuate throughout the season?
No, Rick, I think this team's going to have an aggression, a resiliency, the word that was shared with me earlier, that comes from what we've lived together, what we've learned from each other from living together for the last couple of years with the guys on the team. So I think those things are going to be in place. I don't think a team changes its personality during the course of the year. I think a team grows more into who it is during the course of the year. The challenges of the season makes you become true to who you are, to your core. I think that's the biggest difference between being a fan and actually being a team member. Is fans, we, because I'm a fan too, we react in different ways and want change every time something doesn't work. That's not how life works. On the contrary, the more difficult the situations get, the more true to the core we have to become. And that's what the season teaches a team, is to believe in who you are and become that best version that you possibly can. I think this team's going to have a personality for who we're going to be from day one. The question is, how do we handle things that are eventually coming? We're going to play a game. And everyone right now thinks they're going to play 30 minutes a game. There's not a guy out there who thinks he's playing the whole game. Well, unfortunately, they're not all going to play 30 minutes a game. The ones that don't get to play that amount of time early in the season, how do they handle that moment? I'm not sure. They're great teammates. They're fun to coach, but that's a real moment that's coming for us. How do we handle that? Do we understand, not accept, understand, maintain our focus as a teammate to do what I'm being asked to do so we can win, and then work harder to force my coach to play me more? Or do I kind of get self-centered and break away from what we've worked so hard to build and start worrying about myself and not work as hard because I'm going to pout rather than – I tell players all the time, if they know why they play and don't play. It's not potluck every day. They know because I tell them. If they're not playing and they pout, their chances of playing becomes less and less. If they grow, then they're putting unbelievable pressure on me to manage a moment. It's easy for me to handle pouting. It's really hard for me to handle guys that are committed to doing things that I'm asking them to do, because then I have to play them. So that means I got to manage things differently. But when they pout or they blame, they made my job easy. You're never playing, and that's the moment that's the unknown right now, is how, because that's where every team's unique, even though we have returning players. Last year we were down to 7 guys. They can do backflips as they dribbled. I couldn't take them out of the game. Does that make sense what I'm saying? I mean, it is what it is. They didn't. They handled it like champs, which brought tremendous joy to me. But this year we got a bunch of guys. So when guys have bad breakdowns, the next guy is going to take their minutes. And that's a good thing. I don't see that as a bad thing. It's how we handle when that moment comes that determines what the best version of us can be.
Dave, Colin, John, and then Andrew.
Frank, is everybody healthy, ready to go in practice?
Even no headaches. Even no headaches. No, everyone's good. TJ Moss tweaked an ankle Monday, but he was back in practice yesterday. I think he missed the last 30, 40 minutes of Monday's practice. It was a normal roll of an ankle, but he went through the whole practice yesterday.
And also with Henry, how do you pronounce his first name? McKay.
K.
McKay?
I got Mike, M-A-I-K. I got Mike, M-I-K-E. And I got Micaiah,
Micaiah.
that goes by Mike. So we're going Mike, Kotsar, and K. That's how you pronounce his first name.
How has he looked, and since he got in, and how is he adjusting to the style and the pace here?
Yeah, what I enjoyed when I watched him on film is that he played with a physicality at the rim that I enjoy. I enjoy coaching guys that play with that physicality. He is who I thought he was. He's making an adjustment. He's been playing for the last, whatever it is, 4 years, if you include the redshirt year. Majority of the time against teams that everyone's 6'7" on the front line. So he's got to learn how to make quicker decisions because there's so much size, not just on our team, but in SEC games, that you don't have as much time to try and score when you're near the rim. You got to make quicker decisions. But he's strong. He plays with aggression. When you throw him the ball, he catches it, which to me is like an epiphany. I'm like, we had a couple of years here now where we throw the ball in there and guys look at it like, why you pass it to me? We got to go catch it. They're throwing it to you, go get it. And I think he's going to be, and he plays strong. That's my biggest thing is he plays like a graduate transfer. He's strong. He's had 2 real good practices for his first 2 years here. First 2 practices during his first year. There's a competitive fight at the rim every play this year that we haven't had since I've been here. It's whether it's Kotsar. Don't want to confuse you like I am in practice every day. Whether it's him, whether it's Jalen, whether it's Wildens, Alonzo, Kay. It's unbelievable. There's a physicality at the rim that we have not had since I've been here. Chris had it, but no one else has had it. Carrera had it. Mendaga's tried, but he weighed 205 pounds. But now we've got guys that are 240 pounds playing with a physicality it's fun.
Frank, you kind of talked at the end of last season. You weren't really sure what this year's team could look like offensively. I think last year that was the fastest group tempo-wise you've had since you were here. Have you thought more now that you've been around them a little bit more what this identity offensively could look like for you guys?
Yeah, there's a reason why I read stuff in the off season, and I spoke to a journalism class yesterday, and they asked me how much do I pay attention and all that stuff, and I told them the truth. I said I read and listen a lot in the off season. Once I get in season, I don't want to be emotionally attached, but I got to understand the people that I'm engaging in conversations with. And let's be honest, we're all human beings. We don't do our jobs differently every day. However you guys manage Will and Mark, it's the same way you're going to manage me when I'm in my season. Your line of questions are going to be different words but same angles, which is cool. That doesn't hurt. That doesn't piss me off or anything. It's just that's who you guys are. I've got to understand that. I said last year that we were going to be the fastest team I've coached, okay? And we had 5 guys, I believe, out for the year. I believe that's 5 redshirts. And I was reading something in the offseason, and they said, there's Frank again. Last year he promoted. They were going to be the fastest team, blah, blah, blah. If you actually go to the data, which I don't care for, we played at a faster rate than any team in the SEC offensively with 7 or 8 guys majority of the second half of the season. So I don't say stuff to just say it. When I say stuff, it's what I see, and I'm trying to share the truth with you. I thought last year's team was really fast. I think that was shown with the data that we played faster than offensively than any team I've had because we led the SEC. Everyone raves about how fast Auburn played. Oh, my God, the fastest basketball I've seen. How about we played faster than them? But nobody wants to report that. They want to report that I hold players back and that I play slow and that I get mad at guys when they don't play defense. So this team appears to be faster than last year's team 2 days in. And part of the reason that I think it appears faster is because there's more guys. And because there's more guys, there's an unbelievable competition to get on the floor. So everyone's got their pedal to the metal, and they're going right now. And we're older, so we got guys that understand what we're doing, so they're playing more aggressively. Long-winded answer to kind of tell you that this team can be even faster. The athleticism on this team is pretty. It's unique to any team I've been around in college basketball. I've had teams that are deep. I've had teams that are fast. I don't know if I've had as many athletic players on one team as we have right now.
If you have 3 Mikes and 2 of them are seniors, how did the freshmen earn the right to be called Mike?
It's like, people I walk up on the street because they hear people I live with every day call me Frank. Hey, Frank, 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 Frank. I don't mind. When they're rude, I'm like, yo, man, I'm not your friend. Slow down with how you speak to me here. You understand what I'm saying? The older guys and I have a better relationship, so they probably call me different names that I don't want to share with you guys right now. So I can call them a different nickname too. It's and Green's like all freshmen, they're freaked out. So if you say anything but his name, his eyeballs are going to pop out of his head. So. So I figured he'd be the one to keep his normal name.
You mentioned that Scott Greenawalt told you that this was their best off-season program. How have you seen that kind of manifest itself on the court? Now you've had limited practice, but some off-season workouts too.
Yeah, it's by far the most productive summer we've had since we've been here. Our roster was in place. The camaraderie amongst our players, because majority of them were on the team last year. There's a respect and a unity there to help the first-year guys. What they did in the weight room, the work ethic of this team's real good. There's an enthusiasm for work with this team. We're no different than every other team across the country in any sport. We've had a couple guys that liked the game day but didn't like the work that takes to be good on game day. And right now, we've got a team where they all enjoy the work. They push each other. They're competitive. In the weight room, they're competitive in community service hours. We took the team paintballing the other day. I couldn't go. How about that? How about this is how great the assistant coaches are, and Scott and them. They send me recruiting, and they go paintballing. How about that? So I'm getting pictures of these guys paintballing while I'm sitting in the gym watching bad ball. It's unbelievable. But there's a competitiveness and a unity there that's been fun to be around. And it wasn't just in the weight room. Scott feels he had the best summer that he's had with any of our teams here. I felt we had the best summer. And here's a part that goes on, unsaid. And I've had turnover on my staff. 3 of the last 4 years. I think that number's correct. First Lamont, then Fig. So now I got Bruce, who Bruce worked for me at K-State 11 years ago. Bruce has to relearn how I want things taught, which is going to be different than how Lamont did it. Players that were in place, they're trying to figure out how Bruce is teaching because it's a different voice, even though it's the same theories. And then Fig leaves, and Chuck comes in. Chuck and I have been friends. Chuck has never been around me in a basketball practice. So Chuck has to learn what we're doing. So now Perry, Chuck, and Bruce have to connect from a teaching standpoint. I'm big on making our assistants teach. And now they're better connected with what we're trying to teach, which then allows the message to the players to be more consistent and clear. So I think our whole summer was completely better than it's ever been. And September was pretty good too. Our on-court workouts, pretty sure, I was just watching film before I came over here of yesterday's practice. Given the fact that we're a month and 2 real practices in, a lot of spacing things, which is the most important part in offensive basketball, is pretty good right now.
Andrew?
Mentioned AJ's improvement in terms of kind of that mid-range game and how he kind of handled the ball maybe more than he had in the past last year. How much specifically did he play as a point guard last year, and how much do you want him this year? That's kind of a loaded question. Being point guard or / initiating offense, because you seems like you do have other options, obviously with Jair. How does he fit into that mix, and how do you look at that position as a whole?
Yeah, I think he said this in a press conference recently, that he wants to cut down on his turnovers. That's part of my conversations with him. So if he said it, then I'm comfortable speaking about it publicly. Turnovers are not made outside the three-point line. If they are, those are bad plays. Those aren't turnovers. Turnovers are not made at the rim. Those are field goal attempts. Turnovers are made in the mid-range, because that's where you got to make your decisions. Am I shooting? Am I dropping it to the big? Am I kicking to the other side of the floor? So the decision-making is in the mid-range. If you're putting players that are not comfortable making decisions in mid-range, in action, where they end up in decision-making situations, chances are they're either going to be unaggressive or they're going to make bad decisions, which are bad plays, okay? That's a coaching problem. Part of my responsibility with AJ is to help him grow, get him to understand that the game is a little deeper than outrunning everybody and dunking a ball or shooting a wide-open three. And that's where his decision-making growth has to come. Well, there's a growth process. That's why a lot of freshmen don't play, because they don't comprehend that moment. So you got a senior. It's a lot easier as a coach to depend on that senior than try to teach that freshman on game day. You're trying to teach him in practice. Because of last year's team dynamic, he got on the floor a lot. Then we had to live with his good and bad on game day. We didn't have the patience to wait as he practiced and grew. Does all that make sense? He's in a place now, last year as the year wore on, where the better he got with that, the more I can give him the ball against set defense, okay? Now, the way we play, if you're a running team, you don't run because of one player. If you're a running team, that means everybody runs. I say this all the time. In the NBA, I don't watch it year-round. I watch it a lot early and I watch it a lot late. Once I'm in the middle of the season, I don't watch it as much. But it's my opinion that in the open court, Russell Westbrook has to be the most impossible guard in the NBA. And guard meaning to guard him. But why doesn't he get more attempts if he's that good in the open floor? Well, Paul George and the other guys don't want to run. They're isolation players. So if Westbrook's running on his own, it's easier to stop him. All that makes sense? So, like, I like to play fast. The point guard and the two guard, they both got to think and play like point guards. So as the season wore on, we can advance it to AJ. He made better decisions. As he grew making his decisions and against set defense, I can put him at the point. So then we can run stuff. And the way offense works, point guard initiates. You try to get whatever actions you're getting. It ends up back in the point guard to make the play at the end of the clock. He's your best decision maker, so you want the ball in his hands at the end of the clock. You don't want the ball in my hands at the end of the clock. That's a problem. So as he got better, then I can play him more at the point. And he got better with his decision making. His turnovers were like early in the year, like in a steep incline, and as the year went on, they kind of tapered off. He's getting better there, and he keeps getting better there.
How does he fit with JR and Trey too?
I don't mean to be boring. I'll use the Final Four. I'm not even going to go deeper into my career. Sindarius played point. Dwayne played point. Raffelder played point. PJ played point. I even threw Hassani at point for a couple days, and I said, that crap ain't happening anymore. So you understand what I'm saying? There's a lot of guys that play point. And when we played in the NCAA tournament, I don't know if we led the NCAA tournament in scoring, but we were right up there with all the teams in the tournament as far as points per game. Not total points because we played more games than other people, but points per game. And a lot of that had to do because we play fast, and you have multiple point guards out there making decisions with the basketball.
How much of a team's identity is built during sort of this preseason practice? How much do you leave this and start a season and say, I know what this team might be, and how much of it is sort of built learning on the fly through those first few weeks, maybe first month?
Yeah. There's a lot of stuff that I think a lot during 3 times. Early in the morning when I wake up, I think. When I work out, I think. My staff knows when I'm working out, it better be life or death. If not, leave me alone, because that's what I'm thinking. And then the last time is when I'm on an airplane, because I'm disengaged from this, and then I just sit there and I think a lot. So as I'm traveling this summer, there's a lot of things I think about that I envision for the team that sound great when I'm sitting on an airplane, but when you actually get on the court, they don't look as good as you thought. So you go through a lot of that trial by error stuff with what I think and what's reality. And that's how teams develop, is I start feeling them on the court every day, because every team's unique. Here's why every team's unique. Because of what I just told you about A.J. Lawson, I can't go into this season coaching A.J. Lawson under the same parameters that I coached him when last year started. I understand him better, and he's gotten better as a player. I have to coach him better and give him more opportunities as a player so he can continue to grow. It might be uncomfortable for me, but for him to keep growing, because the more he grows, the more his teammates grow, the better our team becomes. It's not how smart I am. That's how teams get better. And I got to do that with all the players. So you kind of asked me a 2-part question. That was the answer to your second part there, as far as the things I think about, and are they in stone, or it's kind of trial by error right now. That's why early in the year you see a lot of teams, and like Final Four team, those guys have played together forever. Those top 4, 5, 6 guys, they knew how to play. And then you think about Rakim Felder and those guys early in the year, they didn't help us much. Those freshmen helped us as the season went on. The returning players carried us early in the year. So we were a well-oiled machine early. Then because of suspensions and injuries, I got to start playing the freshmen more. We don't play as well, but they got better. By the end of the year, we had an idea how we were going to play early. That thing had to change in the middle segment of the year because of everything I just said. And then the guys that were playing, they started to earn my trust, and they got better by accepting responsibility. So now when you start reintegrating Sindarius and then PJ and then whoever, now we had to start playing a little differently there too, because now it's a combination of more things. So that's the challenge. Is a little bit trial by error. I know there's a second part to what you asked. I don't know if I answered it or not. Okay.
Reggie?
In the terms of the SEC pecking order, how do you think this program will be perceived at media days? And do you think what you've been able to do the last couple of years will help maybe be a little bit higher in that preseason media poll, or do you care?
I don't care for a single preseason poll that's done by anybody. But I can tell you this. And I hope nobody gets offended, but the media has yet to get it right with my team one time. So whether it's with players, think about this. Chris Silva wasn't even first team all-league in the media voting. Think about that. Sindarius Thornwell wasn't player of the year in the media voting. So, we're not consumed with preseason polls. I think rather than preseason polls, the media should poll the coaches and ask them, which is the team you least want to play in the conference, and then rank them in that order. Such a school got 9 votes. Such a school got 5 votes. Then you can figure out who the coaches don't want to play against, which usually means those are the guys that are really good. But it's polls are polls. I've told you before, I'd rather be ranked than not ranked, even though it's irrelevant, but it creates an interest level for your program. It creates an expectation, which is all healthy. Expectations are healthy. It's every time I left my house, there was an expectation to represent my family a certain way. That doesn't mean I was perfect at it, but that means that when I messed up, I felt bad about it because there was an expectation of how I needed to represent my family's name. And that continues to today. It doesn't change. So expectations are good. I'm not against expectations. But the most important part is that we handle the season the right way, that we don't run away from difficult moments, that we learn to work. There's only certain things we control in our lives. Who we are with our attitude and our willingness to work. If we don't work, I say this all the time, everyone that complains, like in today's day and age, load management, that's the biggest bunch of, you know who complains about being in shape? I've said it over and over, guys that sit on the couch. Those are the guys that don't want to run. The guys that are in great shape, they want to keep running. They never complain about tired legs or load management. I've never heard of such nonsense in my life. But, it is what it is. It's what society's become. But expectations are a good thing. Even though the media's never got it right with our team, I'm also, I don't have much regard for preseason polls. The season's ended. I've never sat there and said, "Ha, I told you so." I'm not into that. We got a hard responsibility to go win games in an unbelievably hard league. I'm just happy that our league's starting to get the recognition it deserves.
Frank, with the recent legislation in California, here in South Carolina, Florida, wondering what your thoughts are on pay to play. I know you've given us an answer before. You're very pro athlete when it comes to that, coming out of high school, obviously, and going straight into the NBA if they want to. But something that looks like this, are you in favor of that? And what do you think that does to college athletics in the future?
Well, the way you phrased your question, I am completely against pay to play. There's this thing called professional sports. You want to get paid to play, go play professional sports. So I'm completely against pay to play. What's happening in legislation right now is not pay to play. It's folks taking advantage of likeness and imaging or whatever the nice words they use. I'm not educated enough to like anytime I speak with an attorney, like they speak, and then I can you speak English now so you don't try to sound intelligent? And they use words that everybody can understand. I don't like to pass on questions. I like to answer questions. If you follow, because I've been expressing what I think since my K-State days, you can find what my opinions are. If I sat here and said I got no opinion or I can't speak to you, then it goes against what I've done before. So we're in a situation that I got to be careful here. I'm going to get myself in trouble. We're in a situation where politics have gotten involved in collegiate athletics, okay? I'm all for doing more for student athletes. I've expressed that publicly. I've never wavered from that. Change was coming regardless of what the people in California are trying to take credit for, okay? Emily, do you think it'd be okay for me to kind of, what I said in the class yesterday as far as Title IX?
Can't remember exactly what you said, but
All right. Title IX. I'm gonna get in trouble. Why not? You guys remember when Title IX? You guys remember when Title IX was passed? It was put through. My wife's a former athlete. Okay, so her and I have these conversations a lot. Not for me to convince her why football's awesome. It's for me to understand the dynamic why track needs football. But yet track needs to be respected for it being its own, women's track I'm talking about, its own dynamic. When all that was passed, you also saw a lot of sports, gymnastics, wrestling, that were a huge part of collegiate sports, out the window. There's parts of the country that don't have baseball. There's parts of the country that don't have softball. Why? Title IX, balance, out the window. So it's diminished. Title IX helped elevate some sports, but it diminished opportunities for others in other sports. It is what it is. I'm not here to fight Title IX. I'm all for equality. this whole dynamic that everyone's like gung-ho and pushing for right now, I'm privy to a lot of meetings. Change was coming. It's not as easy as people make it sound to be. Because once I give you something, are you going to let me take it back from you? So it's over. So I can't give you something if it's going to deprive him of an opportunity later on in life. And we are a nation of laws. We're not a nation of do whatever. So we have to make sure that we put certain things in place so it continues to grow the opportunities and benefits for the young people, but it doesn't completely ostracize half of what collegiate sports is all about. I don't know if that's making sense or not. I've got opinions. I've shared them publicly before. So, we've been asked to kind of be careful right now because there's so many lawsuits and so much stuff going on that, but my opinions are public. I've stated them before, so they're public. You can find them, my ideas, and I can't run and hide. I have not deviated one bit from what my opinions were before. Change was coming. Here's what I can tell you. I represent the NCAA. I represent South Carolina. We don't need no legislator to tell us that we needed to change. There's been all kinds of voices going on, but that change, you got to understand. You remember Curt Flood? I was a kid. Phil, I know you remember. What? You and I are the same age? Jesus. Yeah. Yeah. But think about what happened with free agency at the beginning. And here we are 40 years later, and they're still trying to figure out how to handle free agency without bankrupting professional sports. That's the truth. How to continue to put a product on the table that the fans are going to enjoy and be willing to give money and let the players get a bigger piece of the pie, for lack of better words. That was 1970 something. Things continue that keeps going on. And so we got to be careful. This is the one thing I will say, because politics has tried to get involved in the NCAA. You know what's funny? The people that are barking about the change that we should make in the NCAA, those are the same people that are barking the opposite as to how our nation should be run. That means that we're mad because the top 5% earners in the world are being given benefits rather than sharing so people who grew up like me can have the opportunity to live. Yet in the NCAA, we're saying, nah, screw them. We got to take care of the top 10% or whatever. Does that make sense what I'm saying? So, and it's the same group of people that are arguing both. In society, they're arguing that the rich are getting richer and no one's paying attention to us. But in college sports, we're like, no, we need to let the rich get richer and the heck with everybody else. That's what makes me upset, is that those two dynamics are being argued in opposite directions by the same group of people. It's the same group of people. And so I don't know if I make sense of what I'm saying or not, but that change was coming. We didn't need a TV show to tell us that they created change. No, they didn't. They're looking for ratings. Change was coming, and it's coming for the right reasons, not because of somebody that wants to sign a piece of paper on a TV show.
All right. All right, Coach, my question to you is, you talk about the spacing of this team offensively, and you have a lot of interchangeable pieces with this team. Do you feel like this team is going to be one of the teams that teams have to adjust to, or you can adjust to them because you have so much versatility on the perimeter and inside as well with your so many athletes?
Yeah, that's as a coach, there's a fine line we fight. We have to have an ego about how we want the game played. Because remember, we as coaches get hired before any of the players get on campus. We recruit the players. So we have to have a set way of these are the must things that we're going to have in our program every time we take the court. You got to have an ego about that. You can't keep changing day to day. Then it's like a butterfly in a windstorm. You're just going to kind of float around, and wherever you land, you land. But then every team's unique. And as the season unfolds, there's certain things that I have to be able to here's what I don't do. Player wants to be here, and I'm asking him to get here. He refuses to step to me. I will never step to him. Never. I was here before them. That's just the way the world works. It's the way every business in our country works. Now, if that player takes a step to me, I'm going to run and grab him and pull him, because he's shown me the willingness to buy in to our culture, what we want to do, how we want to play. Once they step to me, then I start becoming more willing to listen to what they're saying. And when you know you have a good team is when, as a coach, you're listening to your players a lot more than they're listening to you, because they already understand what you're doing, and then they're sharing with you what they see, what they feel, which means they're mentally and emotionally invested into your system. So then I have to allow them to grow, and I have to listen to them because they're so committed to what we're doing. So it's kind of a kind of a tightrope we walk, or at least I walk as a coach. Is I'm very stubborn, and I want stubborn players, but we have to eventually do this. And when we do this, then I'm empowered to be the best coach I can be, because the players are completely bought in. And so that's kind of part of the excitement for this team, is that I don't have any players resisting. They're all taking steps to meet us and who we want to be. So it allows us as coaches to go grab them and help them even more. Yeah. We're good. I got no practice today. I got to go work out when I leave here. I've been watching film. Work out. That's like what young people do.
Competitiveness at the rim, you've noticed it. Where are those two freshmen kind of fitting into that?
Oh, ridiculous. Jalen and Wildens, they play with a physicality and I told you guys earlier, our guys drive to the basket, Wildens is coming to get it. Wildens don't stand there and watch. He's coming to get that ball. And when rebounds come off the rim, I'm used to seeing Chris Silva's hands over the rim, and all right, let's hope he didn't get it. Let's hope it lands in our hands. There's multiple hands up there going after the ball right now. So it's the two freshmen are, they like all of them. Living in structure is part of success. Success don't come in living and doing whatever the heck you want to do. Living in structure comes with success, is a big part of eventually benefiting to success. They got to figure out our structure. And as they figure out our structure, they've got the intangibles, the desire, the competitiveness, the athleticism. Those are intangibles. Those are things we don't control. You control your attitude, you control your mind, you control your effort, your work ethic. You don't control all those other things. They've got those things. So they make up for mistakes right now because of those other things. As they continue to learn our structure, I think they can actually do a lot of real good things.
And with Justin, how do you feel he's fitting back into this team now that everyone's back on the court after a good freshman season, and then last year, obviously he wasn't present with the injury?
Yeah, well, his voice never went away. When he realized that he was going to redshirt, it's the biggest thing I told him. I said, Justin, you can't just be here and be sight unseen, voice unheard, and expect to show up in the summer and start telling people what to do. The reason that your teammates will give you the opportunity to listen to you and allow you to be heard is if you keep helping them now. Because if you get hurt, that's part of the deal. That, unfortunately, injuries is part of what we do. The guys that get hurt and kind of go stand in a corner by themselves, when they come back, their teammates don't want to hear what they got to say. They're like, yo, man, I've been out here. Don't come tell me what I'm doing. You go back to riding the bike or whatever the heck you were doing. Don't come over and tell me, because when I was doing it by myself, you didn't help me. And He did the complete opposite. He did what I kind of advised him to do, which was stay engaged with those guys so that his teammates respected the heck out of him. And now that he's healthy, he's out there doing what Justin does, taking open threes, creating havoc with his energy, getting on the glass and rebounding the ball. He's trying to become a better player off the dribble because he wasn't very good at that his freshman year. He was working at it last year, and then he got hurt, so it kind of slowed it down. He's really trying to become a better decision. That mid-range, get back to that. I'm open for the three, shoot it. That's a pretty simple decision. All right, I got past my defender. Who's helping? Where from? Where's the next pass? Is he helping up? Is he staying back? Do I shoot it? Do I make another move and attack the rim? Do I drop it on the big? Do I skip it? Once you get to that decision-making area, there's a lot of stuff that has to be processed in a real quick moment. All that's new to him. And so he's working at that, and he's gotten better at it, but he's still not great at it, and he's got to keep working at it.